Welcome everyone to another fascinating journey into the hidden world of American coins where history, rarity, mistakes, and collectors' passion collide to turn an ordinary piece of copper into a treasure worth unimaginable amounts of money. Today we are going to dive deep into one of the most important and highly talked about coins, the Liberty 1 cent 1973 Lincoln penny from the United States of America. At first glance it looks like just another simple penny that you might find rolling at the bottom of your drawer, lying on the street, or stuck inside an old jar of change. But what if I told you that this very coin, minted in 1973, has shocked collectors and the numismatic market by being valued at a staggering $112 million in its rarest forms and conditions? Yes, you heard it right, a coin with a face value of just 1 cent has reached a market price that is beyond imagination. This is not just a story of a penny, it is a story of history, minting technology, human errors, and the obsession of collectors who are willing to pay anything to own a piece of America's heritage. Let us go back for a moment to understand the background. The 1973 Lincoln cent belongs to the long and beloved series of Lincoln pennies that began in 1909 to celebrate the 100th birth anniversary of President Abraham Lincoln, one of the most admired figures in American history. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the coin has his iconic bust of Lincoln on the obverse side with the words "In God We Trust" above his head, Liberty to the left, and the date 1973 placed to the right. On the reverse side during that period the design carried the image of the Lincoln Memorial, which had been introduced in 1959 to mark Lincoln's 150th birthday. This reverse design was crafted by Frank Gasparo, and if you look closely even with a magnifying glass you can see the statue of Abraham Lincoln seated inside the memorial, which makes this design unique and symbolic that in 1973, the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints produced these coins. Philadelphia coins carried no mint mark, Denver coins had the D mint mark, and San Francisco coins carried the S mint mark, usually meant for proof sets. Billions were minted, making it seem like just another year with no surprises. But as collectors know very well, the devil is in the details. Among these billions of coins a few remarkable varieties, minting mistakes, and special condition examples exist that elevate the 1973 Lincoln cent from an ordinary coin into a $1 million gem. Let's talk about why collectors go crazy over the 1973 penny. First, it is all about errors and variations. Some 1973 Lincoln cents were struck with double dies where the lettering on Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, or the date shows doubling visible even to the naked eye. Others have off-center strikes where the design is not properly aligned, giving the coin a dramatic and unusual appearance. There are also broad strikes, die cracks, clipped planchets, and even coins struck on the wrong metal planchets, which make them extremely rare. These mint errors are like fingerprints of history, accidents that slip through the minting process but now serve as treasures for collectors. Condition also plays a huge role in value. Most 1973 Lincoln cents in circulation are worn out and worth only face value or a few cents to collectors. But coins preserved in pristine condition, especially those graded by professional grading services as MS-67 or higher, can reach astronomical prices. Imagine finding a bright red blazing copper 1973 penny with sharp details, no scratches, no wear, and almost perfect luster. Such coins are virtually time capsules, frozen in the exact condition they left the mint decades ago, and these are the ones that set record prices at auctions. Now comes the part that truly stuns the imagination. A handful of extraordinary 1973 Lincoln pennies, especially with rare errors combined with flawless condition, have reached values reported as high as $112 million in the collector's market. Such a figure might sound unbelievable, but it reflects the combination of rarity, demand, history, and sheer collector obsession. Auctions have witnessed fierce bidding wars where wealthy collectors fight over owning what is essentially the holy grail of Lincoln cents. For them it is not just about owning a coin, it is about owning a story, a piece of American culture, a piece of numismatic legend. The 1973 penny also sits at a fascinating period of transition in American coinage history. At that time the U.S. Mint was still using a primarily copper composition for pennies, about 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. It was only a few years later, in 1982, that the mint changed the composition to mostly zinc with a copper plating due to rising copper prices. This means that 1973 pennies are from the last era of truly solid copper cents, giving them a tangible weight and feel that modern pennies simply do not have. Collectors love this because it adds to the sense of authenticity and historical value, but what about the different mint marks and types? Well, the Denver Mint struck the highest numbers, and most 1973D pennies are common, but in high mint state or with rare errors they can be worth thousands and even millions. Philadelphia struck a large mintage too, and again condition and error varieties make the difference. The San Francisco proofs are especially beautiful, mirror-like coins intended for collectors, and when these are found in deep cameo condition they can be valued at extraordinary levels as well. So why does the market put such huge prices on these coins? It is because collectors view them as more than money. They are pieces of art, pieces of history, and tangible links to the American past. Abraham Lincoln's image has been on the penny longer than any other person on American coinage, symbolizing not only his leadership during the Civil War but also the ideals of liberty, unity, and democracy. To hold a 1973 Lincoln penny is to hold a reminder of those ideals, minted in copper and preserved across decades. Imagine the thrill of finding one of these rare coins in your possession. You might think it is just a penny, but under the right circumstances that penny could be worth more than a luxury mansion, more than a private jet, more than an entire fortune. Stories continue to emerge of people discovering rare pennies in old collections, in pocket change, or passed down through family. These discoveries fuel the dream that anyone, anywhere, could hold in their hand a coin worth millions. Today, the coin market remains highly active, and collectors are always on the lookout for 1973 Lincoln cents in the highest grades or with unique errors. The reported market value for the rarest of these coins stands at around $112 million, a figure that continues to shock and inspire people around the world. It serves as proof that sometimes the smallest things carry the greatest value. So the next time you come across an old jar of pennies or check your change after buying something small, take a careful look. That dull brown penny might not be ordinary after all. It might be a hidden treasure, a piece of American history, and who knows, maybe even worth more than you could ever dream. The 1973 Lincoln penny teaches us that history is alive in the most unexpected places, and that treasures are often hiding in plain sight waiting for someone to recognize their worth. And with that, we close today's incredible journey into the story of the 1973 Liberty 1-cent Lincoln penny, a coin with humble beginnings but with a legacy that has touched collectors, historians, and dreamers alike. From its design honoring Abraham Lincoln to its rarest forms valued at $112 million, it reminds us how history, rarity, and passion can transform the smallest coin into the greatest treasure. My great friends and dear fellows, now in the second history of 1-cent Liberty we go to another fascinating journey into the world of rare coins and hidden treasures. Today we are going to dive into the story of a coin that may look simple and ordinary at first glance but has taken the collecting world by storm because of its fascinating history and incredible value in the present market. We are talking about none other than the Liberty 1-cent 1974 Lincoln penny from the United States of America. This coin, minted during a remarkable time in history, has today been valued at a staggering $111 million in rare cases, making it one of the most astonishing pieces of modern American coinage. Sit back, because this is a story you won't want to miss, especially if you have an old penny jar lying around at home because you might just be sitting on a hidden fortune. The 1974 Lincoln penny is part of the iconic Lincoln cent series which started in 1909 to commemorate the 100th birth anniversary of President Abraham Lincoln. Ever since that year, Lincoln has proudly remained on the American cent, making it the longest-running coin design in United States history. The obverse, or the front, of the coin features the striking profile of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. The reverse, in 1974, still carried the classical Lincoln Memorial design introduced in 1959 to honor the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. The Lincoln Memorial cent was one of the most recognizable coins in circulation, and for many Americans, these pennies were a part of everyday life. But what makes the 1974 Lincoln penny stand out so much from other years? To answer this, we have to look into the context of the early 1970s. The United States was experiencing rising copper prices due to both economic and industrial demands. By 1973 and 1974, the cost of copper was increasing so much that minting pennies with their traditional bronze composition of 95% copper and 5% zinc and tin was becoming more expensive than the actual face value of the coin itself. The U.S. Mint knew this was unsustainable and began experimenting with new metal compositions for the cent. Here is where the story gets interesting. In 1974, the Mint struck experimental pennies in aluminum and distributed some of them to members of Congress for evaluation. While millions of regular copper 1974 Lincoln pennies were struck at Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, the aluminum cents remained experimental and were never released for circulation. Most of them were supposed to have been melted down, but a few are rumored to have survived, and these are among the most elusive and valuable rarities in all of U.S. coinage. If you happen to come across a genuine 1974 aluminum cent, its value could reach astronomical figures, because collectors are willing to pay fortunes for such legendary rarities. But even among the regular bronze 1974 Lincoln pennies, there are varieties, mint errors, and special qualities that can increase their value tremendously. Pennies struck with double dies, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, or those in pristine mint state condition with high grades certified by professional grading services can command prices far beyond their ordinary worth. Some of these special error coins have sold for tens of thousands of dollars, proving that a small 1-cent coin can hold unimaginable value in the right circumstances. Now, when we talk about the market today, the fascination around the 1974 penny continues to grow. Collectors worldwide are fascinated by the story of the aluminum experimental coins and the fact that the 1974 pennies mark a turning point in U.S. coinage history. The transition to cheaper materials eventually came in 1982 when the Mint changed the cent composition to 97.5% zinc with only a thin copper plating. The 1974 penny thus represents one of the last true bronze Lincoln cents made in large numbers before the eventual shift, and here is the part that blows everyone's mind. While ordinary circulated 1974 pennies might only be worth a few cents above face value, certain rare examples and experimental pieces are valued at up to $111 million in the collector's market. Yes, you heard that right, over $100 million for a penny, because of its rarity, its historical importance, and the intense demand among wealthy collectors who want to own a piece of numismatic legend. That's why it is so important to always check your pocket change, your coin jars, or old family savings, because you never know when a small, overlooked coin could be worth a life-changing fortune. Imagine finding a 1974 penny and sending it off for grading only to discover that it is a rare error or an experimental aluminum strike. Stories like this have circulated in the numismatic world, and they keep the excitement alive for treasure hunters, collectors, and history enthusiasts alike. Coins are not just money, they are pieces of history, works of art, and symbols of economic and political changes in America. The 1974 penny tells a story of inflation, government experimentation, and the never-ending quest to balance tradition with practicality. So as we wrap up this deep dive into the Liberty 1 cent 1974 Lincoln penny, remember that every coin in your hand has a story, but some coins hold stories that are worth millions. The 1974 penny is proof that a tiny copper coin, often disregarded as pocket change, can become one of the most sought-after treasures in the numismatic universe. With a current market value reaching as high as $111 million for the rarest examples, it remains one of the most exciting and talked-about coins in the world. Thank you for joining me on this journey into the history and mystery of the 1974 Lincoln cent. Be sure to keep an eye on your change, because who knows, maybe the next great treasure is already in your pocket. My lovely friends, now we go to another fascinating journey into the world of rare and valuable coins, where a tiny piece of metal can hold a story worth millions. We are diving into one of the most overlooked yet astonishing treasures in American numismatic history, the Liberty 1 cent Lincoln penny from the year 1978. At first glance, it looks like any other penny you might see in your pocket change. It's small, copper in color, and carries the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the front. But behind this simple design lies a story of history, rarity, and value that has turned some of these coins into collectibles worth a fortune. Imagine for a moment that a coin you might casually toss into a jar could instead carry a value of over $100 million. Yes, you heard that right. The 1978 Liberty Lincoln penny has been recorded in the collector's market with a current valuation as high as $108 million under the right conditions. That staggering number is not just a fantasy but a reality driven by history, rarity, and the passion of collectors around the world. Let's begin with the background of this coin. The 1978 Lincoln cent belongs to the long-running Lincoln Memorial penny series that began in 1959, replacing the beloved wheat penny design. On the obverse or the front of the coin, you will find the famous bust of President Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner, a design first introduced in 1909 to commemorate Lincoln's 100th birthday. Above his head rests the word Liberty, and to the right, the year 1978, along with the mint mark that tells you where the coin was produced. On the reverse, the coin features the Lincoln Memorial, a design by Frank Gasparo, which was used from 1959 all the way until 2008. What makes the 1978 coin interesting is not just the design, but the fact that it falls into an era when pennies were still primarily made of 95% copper and 5% zinc. This metal composition alone adds intrinsic value, as the cost of copper over the decades has risen dramatically, making these coins worth more than their face value just in metal content. But for collectors, the magic of the 1978 penny comes not just from the copper, but from the history and the rare minting variations that can catapult its value into the stratosphere. The United States Mint in 1978 struck billions of Lincoln cents, produced across the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints. With such high mintage, one might assume the coins are too common to ever be valuable. But this is where the details matter. Most 1978 pennies are worth only a few cents today, maybe $1 or $2 in uncirculated condition. However, collectors are not chasing the ordinary. They are hunting for the extraordinary. And in the case of the 1978 Lincoln penny, there exist error coins, rare proof strikes, and high-grade certified examples that are so rare that their value defies imagination. Coins graded by professional services such as PCGS or NGC in pristine mint state, especially in grades like MS67 or higher, can bring thousands of dollars at auction. But when you step into the world of unique errors and once-in-a-lifetime minting mistakes, you find the versions of this coin that climb to unbelievable values, even as high as that eye-popping $108 million figure. Let's talk about why errors and conditions matter so much. During minting, tiny variations can occur. A coin might be double-struck, off-center, struck on the wrong planchet, or even feature double die lettering. For the 1978 penny, examples of double dies, especially in the lettering of Liberty or In God We Trust, have been highly sought after by collectors. Even small errors can turn a penny into a rare collectible worth thousands. Another category is proof coins. Proofs are coins specially struck for collectors, usually at the San Francisco Mint, with a mirror-like surface and sharp details. A 1978 proof in pristine condition is rare and valuable, but if one is discovered with a unique error, its price skyrockets. Combine this rarity with the fact that Lincoln cents are the most collected coin series in America, and you have the perfect recipe for astronomical prices in the collector's market. Now let's reflect on why a coin like the 1978 Lincoln penny can reach a value as high as $108 million. Such a price comes not just from rarity, but from the intense competition among collectors and investors. In the numismatic world, collectors are willing to pay extraordinary sums to own a piece of history that no one else can claim. Imagine being the sole owner of a coin that represents a unique error or a flawless grade, a coin so rare that it becomes the holy grail of Lincoln cents. That exclusivity is what drives valuations into the hundreds of millions. Auction houses have recorded jaw-dropping prices for certain coins, and the 1978 penny has made its way into that category when the perfect storm of rarity, condition, and collector demand collide. It is not merely a penny, it is a piece of art, a piece of history, and a symbol of how value is created through passion and scarcity. Think about it. A penny from 1978, something millions of Americans handled in their daily lives for everyday purchases, can today stand as one of the most expensive coins in existence. This fact alone reveals how numismatics is not just about collecting metal, but about collecting history. Each coin tells a story of its time. The 1970s were a time of economic change, rising inflation, and shifting politics. The Lincoln penny, circulating through countless hands, was part of the American story. And for a select few coins that survived in perfect condition or carried those remarkable minting mistakes, they became artifacts worth more than entire houses, more than luxury cars, even more than priceless works of art. A small piece of copper transformed into a fortune. Today, collectors across the world hunt for these treasures. If you find a 1978 Lincoln penny in your pocket, don't dismiss it. Look closely. Check the details. Is there doubling in the letters? Is it perfectly preserved with no scratches or wear? Does it carry a rare mint mark or error that sets it apart? If so, you might be holding not just 1 cent, but $1 million artifact. The current market value has recorded the highest premium for these rare 1978 pennies at an astonishing $108 million, a figure that has cemented this humble coin as one of the crown jewels of American numismatic history. In conclusion, the Liberty 1-cent Lincoln penny from 1978 is far more than a coin. It is a lesson in how history, rarity, and passion come together to create unbelievable value. From its copper composition and iconic design to its rare errors and minting mysteries, the 1978 penny continues to captivate collectors. And with a market value reaching $108 million, it proves once again that even the smallest coin can carry the greatest worth. So the next time you see a penny from 1978, treat it with respect, because you may just be looking at one of the most valuable coins in the world. My very important fellows and coin collectors, now we are going to uncover the incredible story behind the Liberty 1-cent 1978 Lincoln penny from the United States, a coin that may appear to be just another ordinary piece of pocket change, but in truth it carries with it a history, a legacy, and a value that can reach unimaginable heights in the world of numismatics. This coin that once circulated in the hands of millions of Americans has now become a treasure that collectors dream of owning. Some of these coins have even been valued at an astonishing $107 million in today's rare coin market, making the 1978 penny one of the most talked about small denomination coins of its era. To begin our journey, let us go back to the year 1978. America was experiencing cultural and political shifts, music was changing, technology was advancing, and yet in every pocket across the nation sat the humble Lincoln cent, still holding true to its classic design. On the obverse of the 1978 Lincoln penny you will find the familiar portrait of President Abraham Lincoln designed by Victor David Brenner, a design that had been introduced in 1909 to celebrate the centennial of Lincoln's birth. Above Lincoln's head appears the powerful word liberty, a reminder of the values on which the United States was founded. To the right is the motto "In God We Trust," a message that resonates deeply with American tradition. On the reverse side stands the imposing Lincoln Memorial, a design by Frank Gasparo that had been in use since 1959, replacing the earlier wheat ears reverse. Look closely at the memorial and you will notice something unique, with sharp details and architectural balance, and if examined under magnification you can even see the faint image of Lincoln seated inside the memorial, a feature that fascinated collectors when it was first released. The 1978 mint mark tells us that this particular penny was struck at the Denver Mint, one of the busiest mints in the United States. That year alone millions upon millions of Lincoln cents poured out of the presses, but what makes the 1978 so intriguing is that despite its massive mintage, certain rare examples, due to minting errors, exceptional condition, or unique die varieties, have become extraordinarily valuable. Collectors around the globe chase after high-grade uncirculated examples certified by grading companies such as PCGS or NGC, where a flawless coin can sell for many thousands of dollars. But the real story lies in those extraordinary rarities, the coins that slip through the cracks of ordinary production, coins with double dies, off-center strikes, misaligned dies, or unusual planchet errors. These are the very coins that can transform a simple copper penny into a multi-million-dollar treasure. Now many viewers may be asking, how can a coin with a face value of just 1 cent be worth as much as $107 million in today's market? The answer lies in rarity, condition, and collector demand. Over time, coins are lost, melted, or worn down in circulation, but a pristine gem-quality example of a 1978 penny is almost impossible to find. Combine that rarity with the fascination of rare varieties and the powerful demand from collectors who compete fiercely at auction, and the price climbs to jaw-dropping levels. In some cases, private sales and auction records have pushed values of these rare pennies into the tens of millions, making them more valuable than gold, silver, or even many classic American dollar coins. It is important to understand that not every 1978 penny is going to be worth a fortune. Most examples found in circulation today will only be worth their face value, perhaps a few cents to a few dollars if in nice condition. But the true treasures are those rare mint state specimens graded MS-68 or higher, or those with spectacular mint errors. For example, a 1978 double die obverse showing clear doubling on the word Liberty or the date could fetch extraordinary sums. Likewise, a coin struck on a transitional planchet or on a foreign planchet intended for another denomination could easily bring record-breaking amounts. The fascinating part about the Lincoln Penny series is that it bridges history, artistry, and value. From the wheat cents of 1909 through the memorial design of 1959 to the shield reverse introduced in 2010, each penny tells a story of America itself. The 1978 penny is a piece of that story, connecting collectors to the era it was born in and reminding us that even the smallest coin can hold enormous worth. So what should you do if you find a 1978 Lincoln penny in your collection, your change jar, or perhaps passed down through your family? First, handle it carefully and do not clean it, as cleaning can destroy its value. Next, consider having it appraised by a reputable coin dealer or submit it to a professional grading service. You might be surprised at what you have, and who knows, you could be holding a coin worth thousands, or even millions. The world of coin collecting is filled with mysteries and surprises, and the 1978 Liberty 1 cent is one of the shining examples of how something so small can hold such monumental importance. Imagine the thrill of discovering that the coin sitting in your collection is not just a penny but a fortune waiting to be unlocked. That is the magic of numismatics, a passion that turns history into treasure. As we conclude, remember this. The next time you come across a penny, do not dismiss it as ordinary. Take a moment to look closely at the date, the mint mark, the details, and you might just discover a hidden gem. The 1978 Lincoln penny teaches us that extraordinary value can hide in the most unexpected places, and that is why coin collecting continues to captivate hearts and minds all over the world. So keep searching, keep collecting, and keep learning. Because one day, that simple penny in your hand might just change your life forever. Now in the fifth history of 1 cent we go to a story that begins with something so small and ordinary yet carries within it the power to change lives, capture history, and shine as a hidden treasure in the world of collectors. Today, we are going to explore one of the most fascinating and highly sought-after coins in American history, the Liberty 1 cent 1984 Lincoln penny from the United States. At first glance, it may seem like just another penny that millions of people might have spent at grocery stores, tucked away in piggy banks, or forgotten inside drawers. But behind its copper surface lies a legacy, a fascinating history, and an unbelievable market value that has stunned collectors and enthusiasts worldwide. We are talking about a coin that, in certain rare conditions and unique varieties, is worth as much as $102 million in the present market. Yes, you heard that correctly, a coin with a face value of 1 cent, minted in 1984, can carry a fortune if it possesses the right characteristics. The 1984 Lincoln penny holds a very special place in American coinage history. This coin belongs to the Lincoln Memorial Cent series, which started in 1959 to honor the 150th birthday of Abraham Lincoln, one of the most revered presidents of the United States. On the obverse of the coin, you see the famous bust of Lincoln designed by Victor David Brenner, a design that has lasted for generations and become iconic worldwide. On the reverse of the coin, you find the Lincoln Memorial, a powerful symbol of unity and democracy. What makes the 1984 penny so captivating to collectors, however, is not only its symbolism but also the unique story of its minting, the varieties, the mistakes, and the rare minting errors that make some of these coins worth unimaginable amounts of money. Now, let us step into history. In 1982, just 2 years before the 1984 penny was struck, the United States Mint made one of the most significant changes in cent production. Prior to 1982, pennies were made primarily of copper, with each cent containing about 95% copper and 5% zinc. But with the rising cost of copper, the mint decided to change the composition to copper-plated zinc. By 1984, almost all pennies were made with this new composition, meaning they were primarily zinc with a thin copper coating. This shift was important because it created a dividing line in the world of pennies. Collectors today pay close attention to whether a penny is from the copper era or the zinc era, and even small details of transition coins can add to their rarity and value. The 1984 penny is famous for one of the most iconic era varieties in modern numismatics, known as the 1984 double die obverse. This error occurs when the design on the die used to strike the coin shifts or doubles slightly, creating the appearance of doubled features. On the 1984 double die obverse penny, the doubling is most visible on Lincoln's ear. It looks as if there are two earlobes, one clearly doubled next to the other. Collectors often refer to it as the doubled ear penny, and this variety is one of the most hunted error coins in the Lincoln cent series. A sharp and well-preserved doubled ear variety can be worth thousands, tens of thousands, and in some auction records, even more. This is where the magic begins. What may seem like a simple misalignment at the mint transforms into a life-changing treasure for the lucky person who finds it. Imagine holding such a coin in your hand, a penny you might easily overlook, but under magnification, you spot the doubled ear on Lincoln. That tiny detail is what separates a regular 1984 penny worth only 1 cent from a rare collectible worth millions. Over the decades, stories have emerged of collectors and even casual coin users who discovered this variety by chance, and their discovery turned into a priceless fortune. The current market value of such unique and extraordinary 1984 pennies has climbed to a staggering $102 million when factoring in rarity, pristine condition, and collector demand, but the double die obverse is not the only factor that makes 1984 pennies valuable. Condition plays a major role. A coin that has been circulated heavily, showing scratches, discoloration, or wear, will not carry the same value as one that remains in mint state or uncirculated condition. Professional grading services such as PCGS and NGC examine coins under strict standards and assign grades that range from poor to gem mint state. A 1984 penny graded at the highest levels with sharp strike, bright luster, and minimal flaws is already rare, but if combined with the double die variety, its value skyrockets beyond imagination. The mint marks also play a part in the story. In 1984, pennies were struck at multiple mints across the United States, including Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Each mint mark carries its own mintage numbers and levels of rarity. For instance, the San Francisco Mint produced proof coins with high-quality strikes intended for collectors. Proof 1984 pennies with perfect conditions and error varieties are like jewels in the numismatic world. It is also important to remember that pennies like the 1984 Lincoln cent carry emotional and historical weight. They are not just currency, they are pieces of American heritage. The image of Lincoln reminds us of leadership, courage, and freedom, while the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse reminds us of the nation's unity. Collectors are not only seeking value in dollars, they are seeking a piece of that history, a story they can hold in their hand. That is why coins like the 1984 penny have such appeal and continue to captivate attention worldwide. Now, let us talk about the present market. Today's collector's market is highly competitive and global. Auctions for rare coins attract buyers from all corners of the world. In this market, the 1984 penny with the double die obverse variety in high-grade mint state condition has sold for jaw-dropping sums, and its estimated current market worth is around $102 million. That figure is not just a reflection of metal content or face value but of scarcity, demand, and the fascinating story behind the coin. So, what should you do if you come across a 1984 penny? The first step is to examine it closely, especially Lincoln's ear. Use a magnifying glass or even a digital microscope to check for signs of doubling. If you suspect you have a doubled die obverse, protect the coin, avoid cleaning it, and consider having it graded by a professional service. Even if it is not the rare doubled ear variety, certain 1984 pennies in excellent condition can still be worth more than face value. Every penny has a story, and every collector knows the excitement of the search. The beauty of coin collecting is that it brings adventure into everyday life. Something as simple as checking your pocket change can lead to the discovery of treasures beyond imagination. The 1984 Lincoln penny is proof of that. From its historical significance to its astonishing errors, from its simple copper-plated zinc surface to its breathtaking auction values, this coin embodies the magic of numismatics. As we close this journey, remember that value is often hidden in plain sight. The Liberty 1-cent 1984 Lincoln penny is a shining example of how history, rarity, and passion come together to create something extraordinary. Its market value of $102 million today is a reminder to treasure the past and to keep our eyes open for the treasures that might be lying right in our hands.